The sound of the ship's warning sirens echoed through the hallway as Captain Jarin sprinted toward the command deck. His breath was heavy, his muscles tense, and his eyes sharp with focus. The stars outside twisted in strange patterns as the ship tried to escape an unknown gravitational force pulling them sideways. Something was not right, and it had nothing to do with engines or coordinates. Jarin reached the control panel and slammed his hand against the override. The screen lit up with red alerts. Alien language symbols flashed across the data feed. He didn't recognize them. They weren't from any known species in the galactic chart. That meant only one thing: something new had found them first. The crew was shouting questions, asking for answers he didn't have. The pilot, a young officer named Lexa, turned to him with a pale face and trembling voice. "Captain, we're being boarded." Her voice cracked. "I think they bypassed our shields without firing a single shot." That sentence made the blood drain from Jarin's face. Moments later, the sound of the airlock opening rang through the steel corridors. Soldiers raised their weapons, aiming them at the shadows beyond the door. But instead of weapons or monsters, a group of tall, glowing figures stepped through. Their skin shimmered like deep ocean water, their bodies shaped like elegant warriors from another world. They did not fire. They simply walked in and waited. The crew froze. Nobody wanted to make the first move. But the aliens didn't speak. They stared. They watched. Finally, one stepped forward. She was taller than the rest, her silver hair flowing like silk, her eyes glowing with a calm intensity. She lifted her hand, and from her fingers projected a hologram. It showed Earth. It showed battles. It showed their own history: nuclear wars, civil conflicts, space expansion, and finally peace. Then the image shattered and reformed into something else. A single human male and a tall alien female standing together, touching foreheads gently. A message appeared in both languages. One must join. One must bond. One must change the course of war. Jarin stepped forward slowly. He didn't know why he did it. Maybe instinct. Maybe fear. Maybe something else. The alien woman stepped closer too. They stood inches apart. He could feel warmth from her body, though she didn't seem to breathe. She looked straight into his soul. Suddenly the lights in the room shifted. The walls melted into shimmering patterns of data and light. Everyone else vanished from his vision. It was only him and her now. They were inside some kind of mental space, shared across both minds, and she finally spoke. "You are chosen. We did not attack. We searched. You are the key, human. The future depends on your willingness." Her voice was calm but not cold. She didn't blink. "You must live with me. You must learn us. You must touch what has never been touched." Jarin didn't know what to say. He was a soldier, not a diplomat. But she leaned forward, her breath warm against his neck. "You must bond, or many will die. You are not just man now. You are decision." The vision ended. The room returned. The others stared at him, silent and confused. He didn't speak. He just nodded once. The alien woman smiled faintly, then turned and walked toward the guest quarters, her voice only loud enough for him to hear again. "You have one moon cycle to know me. Then you must choose." He sat on his bed that night, shirtless, thinking hard. His muscles were tired. His mind was racing. He felt like a man pulled into a dream that wasn't his. But when she entered without a word and began to pull down the top of her suit, his heart nearly stopped. She didn't speak right away. She simply stood there, watching him, calm, beautiful, alien. Then she said in a steady voice, "Human, it's been over a month and you haven't deflowered me." Jarin sat there, frozen. Not from fear, but because something in her eyes told him this wasn't just desire. It was duty. It was survival. It was the start of something far bigger than either of them. He slowly reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. Outside the ship, the stars moved quietly, as if waiting too. Jaran didn't move right away. His fingers were wrapped around hers, but his thoughts were tangled. Every part of his body told him something real was happening, but his mind still tried to make sense of it. She was standing in front of him, part of her suit open, her glowing skin reflecting the soft blue lights of the ship. But there was no lust in her eyes, only expectation. She sat beside him without asking. The bed shifted slightly under her weight. He could smell something faint, something like rain and metal, soft and clean. She tilted her head and studied his face. Then she placed her hand on his chest, just above his heart. "We don't need to rush, but time is no longer on your side. I was told this would be simple. But you resist." Jaran looked down at her hand. It was warm. Softer than human skin, but still alive. "I don't understand what you want from me," he said quietly. "You say this is important, but nobody's explained what happens if we don't do it. Or why I was chosen." She blinked slowly. Her voice was steady and calm. "Our race has reached its peak. Our genetics are stable, but no longer adaptable. We fought, we conquered, and now we fade. The old path has failed. But your species, you are chaos, pain, and evolution. Together we can become more." He pulled away slightly and looked at the floor. "You mean breeding?" he muttered. "You're saying you want to make some kind of hybrid. Use me like a seed." Her hand gently took his again. "Not use, share. You must be willing, you must understand. This is not just physical. You bond with us through touch, but the result is a mental and emotional connection. You will be changed forever." Jaran stood up and walked to the wall, staring at the glowing panels. "And what if I say no? What if I choose not to bond?" he asked without turning back. There was silence for a long moment. Then she stood, walking toward him. "Then the council will send another, but it may be too late. Our numbers are falling. The others are impatient. They believe war is easier than change. Your refusal may bring fire to your skies." He turned around sharply. "So this is a threat now?" he asked, his voice low. "You're saying if I don't sleep with you, Earth will burn?" She shook her head. "Not from me. I was sent to try peace. I chose you because you feel. You think. You hesitate, even when it's hard, but the others on the ship, they are soldiers too. Their path is not mine." Jaran stared at her, his breathing uneven. His instincts screamed at him to fight, to argue, to protect Earth with weapons and orders. But her words had weight, and her eyes, they held no lies. He could feel it deep in his gut. This wasn't just politics. This was survival. On both sides, he walked back slowly and sat on the bed again. "You said a bond, emotional, mental. That means you're risking something too, right? If I agree, you could get hurt too." She sat beside him once more and nodded. "If we fail, I will not return. I will fade as my sisters have. I volunteered knowing this. But if we succeed, we become more than history. We become future." For the first time, he felt the weight in her voice. She wasn't just a beautiful alien sent to seduce him. She was someone carrying the last hope of her species. And in a strange way, that made her more human than most of the politicians he'd ever met. He reached up and touched her cheek, just once. It was smooth and cool, like touching a living river. She closed her eyes, leaning into the gesture. "Okay," he whispered. "Teach me. Show me what this bond really means, but not just the surface. I want to know everything." Her eyes opened, and for the first time she smiled. It wasn't a seductive smile. It was real, warm. "Then lie back," she said gently. "This is only the first step, but it is the most important one." Outside the ship, the galaxy remained cold and silent. But inside that quiet room, something ancient had just begun to change. Jaran lay back on the bed, but his muscles were still tight. His heart thudded in his chest, not from fear, but from something deeper. This wasn't just about him anymore. He had said yes, and now his choice had weight. The alien woman sat beside him, calm and focused. Her fingers touched his temple gently, and a wave of warmth spread through his mind like a soft wind brushing against a quiet field. "This is how it begins," she said softly. Her voice vibrated inside his head and chest. At the same time, "We share thought, memory, feeling. I must learn who you are. Only then can your body accept mine. And only then can mine accept yours." Images flashed before his eyes, not from his own memories, but from hers. He saw strange stars, red oceans, giant stone halls filled with warriors in silence. He saw her standing alone among them, the last of her kind to volunteer for the bond. They had doubted her, feared failure, but she had chosen to try anyway. Her name appeared in his mind like a whisper, Aliari. It was both her name and a title. It meant one who bridges. She had trained for years, prepared her body and soul, and now she was here, offering everything to a single human male because her species had no other choice. Jaren's body relaxed. Not from comfort, but from understanding. This was not a trick. This was real. Her memories poured into his brain, mixing with his own, and suddenly he felt what she had felt: fear, hope, pain, pride. She had seen death more times than he had, but she had never once given up. She opened her eyes and pulled her hand back. "Now you see," she said. "Now you understand why this is more than just physical. We do not bond by flesh alone, we bond by truth. You must give me yours." Jaren sat up. He felt tired, like he had lived another life inside his own mind, but he didn't hesitate. He reached out and touched her forehead the same way she had touched his. His memories flowed freely. His first fight as a soldier, the way his father had held his hand after his mother's funeral, the moment he chose to join the stars instead of hiding on Earth. Aliari blinked slowly. "You carry pain, you carry guilt, but you also carry love. That is what makes you perfect for the bond. You feel more than you speak." He looked at her. "Is this what you wanted?" he asked. "Just to know my past?" She shook her head. "That was only the door. The bond is not memory. It is action. Now your body must meet mine. Not just for contact, but for energy, for release. Our life force is trapped unless it flows freely. That is how new life begins." Jaren swallowed hard. He wasn't afraid of her. He wasn't confused anymore. But the weight of what came next still pressed on him. "You're saying we have to complete it fully. There's no shortcut?" "No shortcut," she said, "but no force. You choose still. I will not make you. But if you choose now, your name will live forever among my kind. And so will the children we create." He stood up slowly and reached for her hand again. "Then, let's finish what we started, not for glory, not for legend. Just because I believe you. And I don't want your people to die." She led him to the center of the room. The lights dimmed automatically, sensing the emotional field between them. The air became warmer. She pulled down the last part of her suit, still keeping within the boundary of modesty. Her body glowed softly in the dark, like starlight captured in skin. Jaren weaved the rest of his clothing as well, steady and respectful. They stood together in silence for a moment, not as human and alien, but as two beings ready to save something greater than themselves. She stepped closer. Their foreheads touched. A soft vibration filled the room. The air itself seemed to hum. Energy passed between their bodies, building slowly, like heat rising before a storm. They lay down together. Not rushed, not desperate. Their bodies connected fully, but gently. The room pulsed with their bond. Lights shifted in rhythm with their breaths. Outside, the ship's sensors glowed red, detecting a surge of unknown biological energy from the crew quarters. But inside, Jaren and Aliari were not scientists or warriors anymore. They were the future. Jaren woke to the soft hum of the ship's life support systems. The lights were still dim, casting a warm glow over the room. Aliari was lying beside him, her head resting near his shoulder. Her breathing was slow and calm. He stared at the ceiling for a while, feeling different. Not just in body, but in mind. Something inside him had changed. He gently turned his head to look at her. Her eyes were open. She had been watching him silently. When she saw him notice, she smiled without speaking. Then she sat up slowly, stretching her arms as if awakening from a long dream. "It is done," she whispered. "The bond is complete. The path has opened." Jaren sat up too, feeling strange warmth pulsing in his chest. "I feel charged, like something's flowing through me." "Is that normal?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "You now carry part of my life force, and I carry yours." Our bodies exchanged energy beyond the physical. The cycle has begun. If we are lucky, it will take root. He stared at his hands, turning them slowly. "You mean a child?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "But more than that. A link, our future, our peace. What grows from us will not belong to one race. It will belong to both. And if the others see this bond works, they will follow." Jaren stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. They no longer looked like cold specks in space. Now they looked alive. He could feel the ship, the crew, the air. It was as if he had been reborn into a new layer of reality. She joined him at the window. "The council will demand proof soon. They do not believe words, they believe action. I must show them the connection is real. But if they see only the surface, they will not understand. That is why you must speak for us." He turned to face her. "Me? I'm not a leader. I'm not a politician. Why would they listen to me?" "Because you did what no one else dared," she replied. "You chose peace. You gave part of yourself freely. That makes you more than a warrior. That makes you hope." Jaren clenched his fists, uncertain. "And what if they don't care? What if they just want war anyway? Then I will protect you. I will stand beside you," she said. "But I will not lie. If the council decides to attack Earth, I may not be able to stop them alone. That is why we need them to see truth. Not speeches, not orders, but living proof of what is possible." The door to the room suddenly opened. A tall alien figure stood there, his armor dark and glowing with symbols Jaren didn't understand. He stepped forward slowly. "The council calls." "Now," he said in a deep voice. Aliari looked at Jaren with calm eyes. "This is it," she said. "No more time. Are you ready?" Jaren put on his shirt and boots quickly. He looked one last time at her, then nodded. "Let's go. Whatever happens, I won't let them erase what we've started." They walked together down the silver hallways of the ship. Other alien figures watched them as they passed. Some stared with curiosity, others with silent judgment. No one spoke. The air was heavy with tension. They entered the council chamber. The room was wide, circular, with glowing walls and 12 tall figures standing in a ring. Their faces were partly hidden by masks. Aliari stepped forward and bowed her head. Jaren did the same, unsure of the customs but willing to show respect. One of the council members stepped forward. "We sense the pulse. The bond has begun," the voice echoed. "But that does not mean success. You must speak now. Tell us why your act should stop the ancient path of war." Jaren took a deep breath. "Because this isn't about war or politics. This is about survival. You wanted a reason to trust humans. I became one with one of your own. We shared everything. And I felt her pain, her history, her dreams. She carries life now. That's more powerful than any weapon." There was silence in the room. Then another council member spoke. "If the child is real, the bond accepted, we may reconsider. Until then, she will be watched. And you, human, will remain in our custody." Aliari stepped in front of him. "No, he is not your prisoner. He is my mate now. I will not let him be caged for doing what none of you dared to do. The council chamber vibrated slightly. Tension filled the air again. The decision was not yet made. But something had shifted in the room. The seed of change had been planted. The council chamber held its breath, though no one made a sound. The walls glowed a deeper red, reacting to the emotional pressure in the room. Jaren stood tall beside Al-Yari, refusing to show fear. He had faced danger before, but never in the form of judgment from beings older and stronger than any species he had ever known. The tallest council member, whose name was never spoken aloud, stepped forward again. You claim unity. But we have seen humans twist promises into weapons. What makes you different from those who came before you? Jaren didn't hesitate, because I didn't come here to fight. I didn't know your people. I didn't even understand why I was chosen. But I still listened. I still gave myself to someone who needed help. That wasn't a plan. That was choice. Murmurs passed among the masked council members. Some tilted their heads. Others lowered their gaze. Al-Yari's hand slipped into his, and her fingers tightened slightly. She didn't need to speak. Her touch was enough. Then show us, another voice called out. If the bond is real, let us feel it. Let the chamber decide. Al-Yari nodded. Without asking Jaren's permission, she stepped forward and raised her hands. Light pulsed from her chest, soft, pale blue energy shaped like a circle, and then floated toward Jaren. As it touched him, it spread across his skin, showing the connection between them. The air around them shimmered like heat on metal. The walls shifted in color. The chamber responded. It was not technology, but something ancient. Something alive. The room was testing them. It scanned their bond through energy, emotion, and memory. Jaren could feel it pulling at his thoughts, diving into his memories with gentle precision. A sudden silence fell. One by one, the council members stepped back. The glow around the room dimmed to soft silver. It was a sign of balance, of acceptance. But only partial. You have proven something rare, the leader said. But peace is not given with one act. We will allow you to return to Earth, but you will be watched. And if this child grows as you claim, it must be seen by the council in time. Jaren's heart lifted slightly. It wasn't full trust, but it was something, a beginning. Al-Yari bowed again, and Jaren followed. The chamber slowly opened, allowing them to exit. The hallway outside was brighter now. The shadows were gone. Back in their quarters, Jaren sat quietly as Al-Yari prepared their travel orders. We're really going back to Earth? He asked. She nodded. Yes, for now. You must return to show them we are not enemies. But also because your world will feel the shift. The child must be born there, on human soil. Only then will the cycle truly begin. Jaren looked at her with concern. And what about you? Will they let you stay with me? They will not. Stop me, she said. The bond is sacred, even to them. They cannot break it. And I will not leave you. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. During that time, Jaren noticed more changes in himself. His senses had sharpened. His emotions had become clearer. Even his dreams now held images of stars he had never visited. Al-Yari explained that this was part of the fusion. A slow rewiring of thought and instinct. As they approached Earth's orbit, the communications officer contacted the United Human Council. A secure channel opened. The president of Earth herself appeared on the screen, her eyes wide when she saw Jaren alive and standing next to the alien woman with glowing eyes. Captain Jaren, the president said, we thought you were captured. What is this? Are you being forced? Jaren smiled and shook his head. No, Madam President. I'm here by choice. And I need you to listen carefully. The war is not coming, but a future is. And it begins with us. Al-Yari stepped beside him and spoke in perfect English. We do not ask for power. We ask for a place, for a future, for a life between stars where both sides live beyond war. The president was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Land at Central Spaceport. You'll be met with a full team. But no weapons, only questions. We want to understand what's happened." Jaran nodded. "Then we're coming down. And we're bringing hope with us." The ship began its descent. Through the thick clouds of Earth's atmosphere, a new chapter was taking shape. A child of two worlds now grew in silence, waiting to be born. Asterisk, the ship descended through Earth's upper atmosphere, glowing orange from the heat. Jaran stood beside Alyari as the cabin lights dimmed for landing. He looked at her, watching the soft pulse of her energy beneath her skin. She wasn't nervous. She was ready. And that gave him strength too. As they broke through the clouds, the view of Earth came into focus. Wide oceans, massive continents, and sparkling cities stretched. Out below, Jaran felt something deep inside his chest stir. This was home. And now, it would be hers too. Alyari placed her hand on his. "Your world is beautiful," she said. "But the hearts inside it must be even stronger. They will fear me. I do not blame them. But we must not answer fear with silence." The ship landed on a secured platform at Central Spaceport. Military officers stood in formation nearby, not holding weapons, but alert and ready. Government vehicles waited behind them. News drones floated quietly in the air, recording everything from above. As the hatch opened, warm Earth air filled the cabin. Jaran stepped out first, standing tall in his Earth Fleet uniform. Alia followed, her long robe shimmering with each movement. Her face was calm, her eyes steady. The moment their feet touched the ground, the world held its breath. President Kellen waited ahead, surrounded by guards and scientists. She raised her hand in greeting. "Welcome home, Captain Jaran, and welcome, guest of Earth. You come bearing many questions. Are you both ready to answer them?" Jaran nodded. "Yes, Madam President. But we also bring a story. One not told in words, but in action. In bond, in new life." Alyari stepped forward. "We are not here to take. We are here to give. What grew between us is not only a child, it is a future. And we bring it with open hands." Medical teams scanned Alyari gently, confirming the truth of her pregnancy. The data caused a storm across the networks. A child born of human and alien parents was more than science. It was history. Some celebrated, some doubted. Others feared what could not be controlled. Earth was split in response. But one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. Jaran and Alyari were moved to a secure habitat deep within a neutral zone. Not as prisoners, but as protectees. Every day, scientists came to observe. Every night, ambassadors sent questions. But the couple remained patient. They knew that trust was not given quickly. Alyari spent time studying Earth's culture. She asked about languages, foods, stories, and music. Jaran helped her understand what made humans love, laugh, and mourn. Together they built a bridge, not of technology, but of emotion. 3 weeks passed. The child inside her grew faster than human biology allowed. Her body adjusted with ease. The healers said the child carried both strength and softness. Energy flowed from Alyari's core like sunlight through crystal. Jaran often sat by her side, his hand gently resting on her belly. "Can you feel him?" he asked one night. "Or her?" Alyari smiled. "I feel both. A balance. This child is not only a mix of us, it is a third path, a new race. One that may live without fear of either world." Outside the habitat, protests broke out. Some called it unnatural. Others begged to see the child. Government leaders debated daily. But none dared to move against them. Too many eyes were watching. And too many hearts were starting to change. In private meetings, Earth's council spoke. to the Galactic Council through deep space channels. Messages were shared, data confirmed. Agreements began to form quietly behind walls. It was no longer just about Jaren or Alyari. It was about what came next. The child would soon be born. The stars would witness a beginning. The day of the birth began quietly. No alarms, no flashing lights, only calm within the habitat. Alyari sat on the edge of the medical bed, breathing deeply as soft waves of energy moved through her body. Jaren stood close, holding her hand, his face calm but focused. He had faced battles before, but nothing had ever felt as important as this. Doctors from both species moved around carefully. Human machines checked heartbeats. Alien devices monitored energy flow. The child inside Alyari responded with a steady pulse, bright and strong. It was not like any human pregnancy, and yet it followed its own natural rhythm. The birth began without warning. A sudden glow radiated from Alyari's chest and lower body. The room dimmed, reacting to her energy field. Jaren felt the pressure in the air increase as if the room itself understood what was happening. He didn't let go of her hand. A sound filled the room, not a cry, but a rising tone, like a note sung through stars. Then the child was born, surrounded by light. The doctor stepped back in awe. The baby had smooth skin, soft and pale blue, with fine hair like silver threads. Its eyes opened wide, glowing faintly, and locked onto Jaren's face first. Alia reached for the child, her arms steady. She pulled the baby to her chest, whispering soft words in her language. The glow around her faded slowly, replaced by peace. Her body relaxed. Her heartbeat matched the baby's. They were whole. Jaren sat beside them and placed a gentle hand on the baby's back. "Welcome," he whispered. "You are the bridge. You are why we fought for peace." Outside, Earth's leaders watched through the secure feed. The birth had been transmitted to the highest councils. Even those who doubted before now sat in silence. The proof was no longer a theory. It was a child, alive, breathing, watching them. Within hours, responses came in from around the world. Some still feared what it meant, but many more sent words of celebration. Schools began teaching about the union. Young people shared the moment online. The birth became the most viewed event in Earth's history. The Galactic Council responded next. A message arrived in the form of a live broadcast. One of their high elders appeared and spoke clearly. "The bond has succeeded. The child lives. The future has opened. The warpath ends today." Jaren stood before the cameras beside Alyari. He didn't prepare a speech. He spoke from the heart. "We didn't plan this. We didn't expect it. But we accepted it. Because sometimes peace is not something you build. Sometimes it's something you choose in a single moment." Ali added, "We are no longer two. We are one. And our child will live to prove that understanding between worlds is stronger than any weapon." The child was named Solari, a name meaning light between stars in both their languages. She grew quickly, stronger than any human infant, but gentle like her mother. She understood emotions with deep clarity. By the age of 1 Earth Week, she could already mimic voices. Nations began talks of shared education programs. Interspecies science councils were formed. Even distant colonies sent messages of interest. The child had become more than a symbol. She was now the first thread in a fabric that would reshape galaxies. Jaren often took Solari outside the habitat, walking among the fields under human sky. Alyari would join them, her presence drawing quiet respect. They were no longer guarded. They were protected by the will of billions who believed in something greater than fear. Years later, people would ask how the war ended before it began. They would ask how peace survived. And the answer would always return to a single moment. A question spoken by an alien girl with glowing eyes and steady hands. "Human, it's been over a month and you haven't deflowered me. she had said. With no fear, no shame, only purpose. And from that one sentence, a new world was born. A world without borders between stars. A future written not by weapons, but by trust. A child had changed everything, and love had done what war never could.